Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're here with the second segment of our special edition of In the Studio for all things Starladder. We're still on the line with Bone7, Sam, and did Lumi leave us?
Lumi's gone.
Lumi's gone. Oh,
Better places to be.
yeah, busy man. But we still got Bone7 and Bulba with us. Thank you for being here, boys. We've got a couple of quick news pieces that we want to kind of just make mention of to keep the spirit of In the Studio alive, even though this was sort of an impromptu, shorter episode. First thing on the docket, our buddy Jimmy Ho, Demon, officially now a member of Team Liquid. Bulba, talk to us about how excited you are to have Jimmy on your team.
Demon's been a good friend of mine. I was on his team, I think, a year and a half ago on EG.
Was he always a good friend of yours?
Yeah, I've known him since Dota 1.
Even during the whole, like, the Bulba gets the boot?
Post TI2, there might have been a bit of a scuffle.
There was that picture with your head, like, next to a boot for a while that Demon was spamming around online.
It was a bit of a scuffle, but
Okay.
it was all in good fun.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
And then we, I mean, obviously at that time we didn't talk as much with each other, but then I think before TI3 and then last year and stuff, we became good friends. And it just kind of happened, like, all this drama with us happened last month, and then I think we needed some tryouts, and then obviously I suggested Jimmy, and Jimmy wanted to try out support. We first put him on a carry. We put him on a solo role, but I didn't think he wanted to try out and play support for us. It was him actually volunteering to play support.
Okay.
And then we gave it to him, and we let him try it out, and then he played really well with us. He makes a lot of calls, and I think he has a similar play style to how I play, so I like playing with him quite a bit. And then he also thinks of different kind of things like to do, like some clowny stuff, and it's fun playing with him, honestly.
So, has he really had an impact on the team outside of just being a good player and filling your fifth seat? Is he actually like kind of helping morale and being sort of a leader and helping bring the team together a little bit? Or is that too far? Is that too much credit for Jimmy?
He's probably gonna get us some Red Bull.
that's a good guy. Good guy having your team.
But no, for real, he's changed a lot as a person. The Jimmy I knew a year and a half is not the same Jimmy I know now. It's
Oh, yeah, I fully agree with that.
the way he thinks and the way he acts and the way his attitude. He's changed quite a bit, and I think it's partly because he went through a lot of shit last year, especially. He was way too arrogant, and he'll even admit it. He was really arrogant last year, and then all that stuff happened with EG and him getting kicked, and then the past year or so he's been just trying to work it up, and he ranked for Cloud9. He did really well. He ranked for Fnatic. He did really well. He went to Korea, and he just changed as a person. So
Yeah.
I think he has his own moments. Like he still feels really sad after a match, but I mean he feels sad after we lose and stuff like that. But this is normal. He helps our atmosphere quite a bit in game.
That's good. Something it seems like from a third-party perspective, at least, that you guys were lacking a little bit. So.
And is he going to stay on support as well, or are you guys still trying to figure out what's best, or is that a pretty permanent thing?
He wants to play support, and he says he actually enjoys playing support quite a bit, and he thinks that support, especially the 4-5 role, has like the most game impact in the early game. And another funny thing is like, me and him, I always joke with him is like, if you're playing support, Jimmy, even if you throw, you're just a Bane Elemental walking in trying to kill the courier and getting first blooded or something like that.
Limits his throwing addiction.
Limits his throwing.
Keeps it in check. That's good.
Yeah. So, it's pretty funny. And he admits it as well. He's like, I'm playing support, so even if I throw, it's not that big of a deal. Like if he's playing Mag and he's the Magnetard video or whatever, where they're pushing mid lane and he tries to kill a Jakiro bottom lane and loses his team the game, like those kind of things.
Oh, Jimmy. Oh,
Okay.
Jimmy. So, Bone7, as a competitor, how scary is it seeing Demon paired up with the remaining 4 members of Liquid? Is that a scary addition in terms of the competitor's mindset?
I'm not sure if that's scary. I don't know. I mean, like, Liquid are not doing that. I mean, the Demon like improved the team so much. I think like Demon is such like a good addition. Yeah, I think that like he had them like a ton, but like they still have like a lot to improve on. I think until they like are like a constantly solid team. I think.
Okay. I think that's a fair way of putting it.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Can't argue with that. So, all right, moving right along here, guys. Our next news piece, we've got 3 little ones, basically just worth talking about and mentioning. There have been a lot of grand finals. We had the D2CL grand finals.
Yep.
We had the MLG TKO grand finals, and then we had WPC tiebreakers for the western portion.
Okay.
Gods, what's going on with all
Well, D2CL, Navi beat out Cloud9 3-1 in the grand finals. Fnatic won another championship. They haven't won a big title. They won the Captain's Draft tournament, but that's Captain's Draft.
that? Yeah.
I
Little
mean,
clowny.
it's still a tournament victory, but it doesn't feel like it was as big an event.
It's not
So
the same.
MLG TK was the first like big actual Captain's Mode tournament
Who
they won
did
in
they
a
beat
while.
in the finals? Do you
It was
recall?
Empire.
Empire.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, for what for which league?
MLG
TKO.
Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
that was after like Empire was starting to get figured out though. But I didn't actually watch the games. It was more just hey, Fnatic won.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Fnatic
There's too many
is,
tournaments.
Like,
So.
It's a big deal in the context of Fnatic. They've been forever second place until now.
They were struck. They're in the same camp as Liquid. I'd say is that they haven't been generally playing that well over the last 2 to 3 months. So I think it's a pretty big deal they won this tournament to put them on the radar, especially with TI4 coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that curse, dude. It's that 7th, 8th place TI curse.
What happened to the teams who finished 7th, 8th at TI2?
It was like Zenith.
No, Zenith were
No.
5th, 6th. It was Orange and
It was Zenith, wasn't it?
no, it was Orange as well as one of the Chinese teams, wasn't
I'm
it?
checking right now.
Orange and Tongfu maybe.
Yeah, okay, it was Tongfu and Orange.
Mm.
Okay.
Tongfu
So
went
I
on
guess-
to do well in TI3. So
Whatever, man. It was just for
no,
TI3.
the two teams that got 7th, 8th at TI2 got 3rd and 4th at TI4. So you guys have a lot
Yeah.
to live up to.
Get wrecked.
Fnatic and Liquid gonna get 3rd and 4th at this next TI then?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that would be fun and interesting. MLG TKO was a $14,000 first prize, so
Okay.
not a bad payout. It was a 60K tournament, and I don't think there was crowdfunding. So, not the biggest of tournaments, but not one that you can scoff
Yeah.
at either.
It had all the best teams. So
yeah, and good news for
Well,
Fnatic.
America and Europe was separate. Was the main thing.
Yeah, and EG won the America. And Liquid got second. Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Well, come on, man.
Bone Seven was calling you out not long ago, Bob. Didn't you? You guys beat his team in the MLG
No,
TKO.
it's like the thing is like no matter how bad we are, there's always Cloud9 that we can beat. You can look the past month, like we beat Cloud9 3 times or something. It's really funny. I don't know why too, Bone. Like you guys are beating Navi one week.
Dude, every
and then
time
the
you
last-
play us, we're like in like the worst slump ever, and then whatever, man.
Do you guys
It's
like
really
a slump is normally like a thing that happens over like a 2 to 3 month period, but it
Yeah,
feels
I don't know
like
what you're
slumps in
talking
Dota
about.
happen over like a 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like you can't say Cloud9 are in a slump or even have been in much of a slump.
No, we just like have like a couple of bad days
Bad day,
sometimes.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all.
you have a bad day.
we're not motivated to play you guys. I mean, I don't.
It's Liquid.
Oh god. And so what's going on with the WPC tiebreakers? While I was at PAX, that was when the bulk of the
Yeah.
WPC West was going on.
There were
So-
tiebreakers between. Well, Cloud9 got first place. They won the. Did not need to play into any tiebreakers. So
Yeah.
congrats to those guys. They're going to China.
Good work, Cloud9. Woo!
And then second place there was tiebreaker matches between Alliance, Empire, and Dog. And Alliance won the tiebreakers.
Okay. Was it
came
just
down
like a
to
three-game
it came down to
tiebreaker?
time rating.
Oh.
It was not a
Ooh.
fantastic thing, unfortunately. But Alliance.
So was it just like a 3-team round robin and they all beat each other, so it had to come down
They
to
did.
a
They did
metric?
a second round robin. They did like a actual tiebreaker matches, but it was
Mhm.
still a tied, so they did a
Okay.
time rating thing, which kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, the teams knew it. You have to break the tie somehow. So
So if you have to break the tie some way other than just playing more matches, what's better than time rating if you had to pick something? Or is time rating just it's bad, but just what you have to deal with in that scenario?
I think it's better than looking at kills or something because you can just like
right.
GG out early. But when it comes to time, like you're trying to protect your throne for as long as possible. So
What do you boys think as players? If it has to come down to some sort of a metric for a tiebreak scenario, what do you prefer?
That was Empire's game to like completely throw away. By the way,
yeah,
they should have won that game.
their draft was pretty. Like I can't believe they just gave Alliance those heroes as well. Like,
No, they picked Nick Snakes when they wanted to hold for 40
Yeah.
minutes. It was like what was it, 28, 38 minutes or something?
37 minutes,
37.
37
It was
minutes.
actually 37, which is quite a while. Like
Yeah,
aver-
but I thought their picks like they should pick something different. You know?
oh yeah,
I don't-
yeah. I fully
Yeah.
agree.
For the
And-
Fnatic. Do you remember when Fnatic played Alliance at like
DreamHack.
same-
It was DreamHack.
Yeah,
right?
DreamHack. They only had to hold up for like 28 minutes as well. Like it was.
And they lost.
so-
It was when the Lions
got-
picked Wisp and PA, right? Was it that game?
No. Alliance got like like Luna and Syllabur or something like that.
Yeah. I don't have a huge problem with time as a tiebreak and when you're stuck in that scenario where you need a metric. I mean, it's never your go-to, but if you're stuck in that kind of we have to do something, I think it's the best as long as it's pretty clearly spelled out. So teams know from the beginning, this is going to be a tie. Like, when in doubt, we should try and win early.
Yeah.
As it affects your strategy.
I think if you had time for 2 more extra BO1s, the best way to do it in that scenario is you look at those 3 teams, you tell them, look, time rating is going to affect the seeding, and then you put them into a mini bracket. So Alliance had the best time rating. That means you do Dog versus Empire in a BO1. The winner of that versus Alliance, and then the winner of that BO1 wins the tiebreakers. Because then the time rating only affects the seeding into that mini bracket.
Right. It still has an impact, but it isn't like the game changer.
End of the day, what's going to decide who advances is whoever wins the matches.
I like that.
The problem with time rating is it's basically telling the teams you have to pick and play according to the tournament rules, which is something which organizers and tournaments shouldn't be doing. So
right. I like that. That's good.
It's only 2 extra BO1s, so
you should write a blog
doable.
about that or something. Maybe tournaments will pick it up.
No one listens to me.
No, they should. That's
I don't
a
know.
damn good idea.
That to me is the best way of solving a situation like that, as far as not having never-ending tiebreakers.
Right, and that again, it all comes back to there's only so many hours in the day, only so much Dota we can play before
it's a very niche situation, but it's a pretty.
When it comes about, it's important.
Yeah, it's the fairest way, and then time rating is being used in a kind of a way that's not going to affect the overall results.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, boys, we've got one more topic of discussion, and it's something we already touched on a little bit, but Eternal Envy standing in the place of fear for EG. And guys, I guess you can take point on this because you're talking a little controversy here. I don't know.
I don't think it's controversy. Like, I know Dreyich, one of these Swedish ex-pros, was kind of saying about like esports isn't a place where like pro sports is. The whole idea that a player can stand in for a team in a big tournament. For one thing, Cloud9 were playing in Starlighter. Sure, they weren't at the LAN finals, but they still played in Starlighter, and it's just like such a big name stand-in to be getting as well. Like, it's like, what if Dendi suddenly stood in for Empire at some LAN just because Navi weren't there? Like, it just feels like it just feels kind of off and something that shouldn't be happening. I mean, I can understand that Fear can't play, but it feels, and teams obviously don't have the ability to have 6, 7-man rosters with substitutes. But
that's the big problem. Is what's the remedy? I mean, I guess in the ideal world you have a 6th person and you kind of rotate in or out or something. But the problem is, how do you practice with 6 people? You always have someone sitting out, and does that one person just play all the roles? So in case your mid hero, your mid player isn't there, then like most players aren't really that dynamic. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Was it appropriate to have Eternal Envy standing in for EG? And is there any other remedy to this situation that we're overlooking?
I know that some people are like really against this, where the sponsored player stands in for something else, because it just kind of makes the scene look a bit less professional.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in my I don't know, I have this apathetic view towards it, so it's hard for me to say, but I mean, I think it does, if we want esports to grow, there should be some rules considering that, but considering EG's circumstance at the situation, like looking at their circumstance, since it was obviously an emergency, because I think Envy said this in an interview where he's like, or I think it was Fear or Envy said, sorry, Arteezy or Envy said this in an interview, I forgot which one, but they're like, last minute Fear said they can't play, and they told them, and then they were all like suddenly frantic and they needed someone. Okay. So I'm not sure. It's really hard for me to talk about.
I mean, if the alternative is EG not playing at Starlighter, it seems like it's the solution. Viewers, teams, organizers, everyone ultimately is happier with Envy playing rather than DK pulling out. It's just whether or not, from like a long-term professionalism point of view, it's
and it does open up some cause for concern in terms of it sort of flies in the way of sportsmanship. You know, you're kind of competitors, and then all of a sudden you're on the same team. It's just like, what would happen if, you know, Envy, there was something where it seemed like Envy was throwing, then it's like, was he like a plan? I mean, I'm not saying anything like that happened, but it's just right now the scene is small enough that we just trust that everyone is in it to win it. It's more for pride than it is for money. You know, people are here because they want to be, but as things continue to grow and more money gets on the line, that kind of situation isn't out of the realm of possibility. So it is definitely an issue, but I don't really know exactly what the remedy is.
I think this is one of those things where they can't really let the players, or it should be up to the management to decide, because it's like, from a perspective of a team that would be in Starladder, they're not going to be complaining about EG using Envy, because it makes them look bad. It makes them, it's like, it's the same kind of rule for a team using a stand-in for a tournament and another team not wanting them to do it, or like being late or giving a forfeit win. It's like all these things are all grouped up in this gray area, and I don't think it should be up to the teams really there should be some ruling that a professional player can't stand in for another team if that's the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That's what my
Starlighter do have that
opinion
rule for their entire online portion. You weren't
Yeah.
allowed. Like, you guys, Liquid, even tried to use a stand-in that had just played stand-in for EG, and then Starlighter were like, no,
we
you
wanted
can't
to
do
use
that.
Mason, and
Yeah.
they didn't let us.
Yeah.
So
And that was before Mason was like an actual player / permanent stand-in on EG. That was like after he played one match for them. So
Yeah.
They were very strict on that. So once you stood in for one team, you can't stand in for another.
Right. Yeah.
But
And it was
when
also if you're on another official roster. The only stands you could use were people that weren't on official rosters, right?
Yeah. They
So-
weren't on any roster for any
Yeah.
team, and then they could only play for your team throughout the entire tournament. Like
Okay.
Demon wanted to play a stand-in for a game for MVP Phoenix, kind of jokingly, because MVP Phoenix were like changing their roster or had a player unavailable. So he's like, he was going to stand in for MVP Phoenix, but then Starlight was like, no, you can't do that. That was when Demon had already played stand-in for Liquid in one game.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
um,
Is it viable to have for teams to have like a sixth person kind of on reserve and be your kind of float stand-in? I mean, I see some people
No.
saying that in chat. From a player perspective, is that at all feasible, viable in any way? It's hard to imagine.
I mean, that person, I don't think Dota's at the level,
no.
like in terms of sponsorships, where you can actually pay someone to do that.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be very casual. Like, obviously, if Fear comes back to EG, and no matter what happens, if EG's lacking a player, they're always going to use Mason because he's not going to be their official stand-in, but he's just going to be their kind of. I don't know if it'll ever get to the level where it's going to be an official stand-in, unless they want to use like Charlie or something.
The other problem is six-man players. They, at the end of the day, they'd rather be on the main roster for another team and
Then-
trying to
yeah.
compete at the top level rather than that backup player.
Well, I don't know. It's like Lance Armstrong, all the bikes, right? Isn't it like they have a team and then everybody else like knocks the other people out of the way so the one guy can win? And they say it's better to be on the winning team but actually place like 10th than it is.
It's okay
just
if you're
to
getting paid.
Fly by
That's
yourself.
that's basically what it comes down to.
Okay.
If, like a team like EG, maybe they can pay to have a
Yeah.
six-man on their roster, but most teams don't have money for that.
Right.
I think if it's like Dota becomes a situation where it's like an actual like LCS or whatever WCS, where it's an actual league where all the teams play, then it's because then like what Zari or Gods, one of you guys said, it's like I don't think the standards want to be I don't think they want to be an official stand-in. They'd rather just go make their own team if they're good
Yeah.
enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
For
but if there's
sure.
a limited amount of teams, like I'm sure that for TI, that how many ever told if there's an option for someone to bring in like a sixth player in case something happens to your player, and
Yeah.
TI is like a lot. Some people willingly wanted to do it because there's only 16 teams, but
Mhm.
since there's so many opportunities in Dota, I don't think it'll be like that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, anything else, Gods? Anything else on the docket, or does that wrap up
I don't
our
know.
Well, how about
Starlighter?
the Ice Flame?
Which
Which anything about that?
which flame?
Where he shots fire to Fear, saying EG did better with Envy.
Oh yeah, that's I don't even know if it was just talking about Envy. I think he was maybe talking about when they were playing just with Mason as well, because they were dominating with Mason. Like as well. Do you guys feel that there's any truth to his statement that EG have been? I mean, because the EG have been on a tear lately. At least before they went to Starlighter, and they did. I mean, end of the day, they got third place. They had fantastic there, but that was all of their games being played with Mason. Do you guys feel they would have had the same success if it was Fear on the team?
I think Mason. I think the reason Envy. I think Envy is different than because Envy has the perspective. Like I'm not Lumi or anything, but I think Envy. Dota knowledge-wise, he's probably one of the most knowledgeable players. I think. Like he theory crafts so much, he thinks so much, and he plays so much. And then he also has he has Cloud9 knowledge, and I think they're one of the teams that kind of have a lot of knowledge as well. So I think he brings in a fresh perspective. And I talked to Zai a little bit about it, and he's like, Envy actually made quite a bit of calls in that game versus Alliance when he was Luna, and like, you know, it's like he brings in a different perspective, and he helps like their things that he helps them in things that C9 is probably strong at, and EG is probably not that strong at.
Okay.
So I think he brings a different perspective. But I think individual-wise, I think Fear and Envy are actually very, very close, like individually skilled, and I think Mason as well. Mason and individually, they're all like kind of they're all three individually skilled.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And I mean, speaking of the other kind of flame incident at the tournament was Envy. It was the DK versus EG series. EG lost game 1. As soon as they load into game 2, Envy all chats EG 2-1 MLG. And apparently, like from talking to LD, he was like, man, I was talking to Ice and like some of the DK players here, like they were like shocked that Envy would all chat that at the start of the game.
Wow.
It seemed like quite a rude thing. I mean, at least from the DK perspective, they didn't take it in the nicest fashion. And at the end, MMY says DK 2-0 Starlighter. that was
better.
my favorite moment. Like I saw MMY do that. MMY never talks. He's like the most quiet guy on the team and probably like the less bubbly type person. When he typed that, I'm like, MMY, I freaking love you, man.
That is badass.
I talked to Envy about this actually, and he was or a little bit about it, and I think Bowen did as well. And he he said he just meant it as a joke, and then he also tweeted something really funny where he's like, DK is guaranteed second place. And supposedly he got like hundreds and hundreds of tweets from Chinese fans flaming him in Chinese, and it's really.
I mean, that's not even that hard of a flame. That's just a fact. They get second place no matter what.
Yeah.
They made it to the finals. That's not.
No,
He was trying to say that EG was going to come back and win the finals.
Oh, I see.
It's like, oh, DK,
Okay.
congrats. You guys are second place, though, because you're not going to win the finals.
Oh, okay. Now
So
I
the
get it.
Chinese fans read it as like, oh, DK's not going to win the finals.
I mean, supposedly the Chinese players and fans, they don't react well to trash talk or something. I don't know.
It's a cultural thing, a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Respect, man. Gotta
It was-
respect.
It was okay. I honestly, it just added that bit of extra character and just drama that I feel like Starlight almost lacked because there wasn't any other like real big drama at
That's
the
like
event.
the kind of drama that's on the side of like it's sort of healthy flame where it gets people revved up and sometimes it goes a little too far the other way. But this was in the grand scheme of things pretty tame.
No, it was
Pretty
it was
tame.
very. I mean, it was the most hyped up tournament, the biggest tournament so far, 2014. But from start to finish, things ran smoothly. Starlight did a great event. And there was no drama. There was no. I mean, there was no. There's storylines out of it, but there was no like nothing which you walk away from that and be like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. Like that to me is the big thing with Starlighter.
Yeah, the only other good flame I saw on Twitter was as soon as EG was eliminated, my feed just blew up 67%. So many RTZs. LAN win rate drops down from the 100 to 67. There were so many people. There were people I could tell just they had it typed in. They were ready. It's like I've been saving this tweet, guys. I'm gonna do it. And then, damn it, everybody else did the same thing. I just retweeted Arteezy's 67%. I didn't do my own, but
it's gone. It's tarnished.
It's gone. It's over. Yeah, the 100% win rate. It's tarnished.
It's only...
Team Empire had a pretty good flame as well. It's like I forgot what it was. It was like we left Americans in third place or something. I forgot what it was. Yeah, but it's like it was a response to Demon.
The thing I like most about the Empire versus Empire EG series is because in the time when they'd versed online, there was always some drama about Empire having to play on US East, whether it's EG playing on Europe servers. People were always complaining and bitching. So this settled it once and for all, at least on LAN. Not to say Empire are, like, end of the day, better team, but they had a better Starlighter than EG.
Well, gods, technically EG still did play on Luxembourg, so... let's just pin that on the loss.
So EG only ever lose on Luxembourg server, basically.
Yeah. Arteezy only loses on Luxembourg server.
The cursed server.
Who's going to be the best on US West server when it comes to the summit? That's the question. Because EG don't get to play on US West server.
Yeah.
Not that it matters. Someone's linking the status.
Gotta see this.
Oh, Demon tweeted if you only had a different offlane support.
Nah, we left Americans on the third place. Ouch. Capitalist. Damn.
The guy who does the Empire Twitter, Empire have the best social media manager of any pro team
LD gave me a heads up. He was just like, the guy that runs that is really cool. Any opportunity to tweet at Empire, do it. And he's actually had some pretty funny tweets.
Is he the manager or something?
So.
I don't think it's someone different to the manager. I have no idea who it is.
He just has a lot of the team Twitters don't have a sense of humor.
He's clever. He has good English.
Yeah, he's clever and he likes
jokes.
jokes. He likes flame. So if you want to fire some shots at Empire opponents, there's a good chance there's a retweet coming your way. So just mental note.
Wait, there was one more thing from Starladder. The Chuan, like there was some thread on Reddit about that, like supposedly him retiring or something. I don't know how true that is.
I saw that tweet. I don't know if it was something that was just lost in translation, but he basically, because it was Loaded tweeted at Chuan, "I'll see you at WPC," and then Chuan replied like, "Oh, you won't see me there. I think I'm done." Like it was kind of cryptic.
Oh yeah, it was Loda who said see you at WPC.
It might just be an emo tweet or something.
Yeah, he said, Chuan says, I don't think we'll continue, but see you there. I will go support you.
He did say later on, like, oh, we're going to get revenge. So he definitely, like, was...
Yeah.
No, because, Arteezy joked, like, oh, come join EG. And then Chuan's like, no, I have to revenge. So Chuan's not leaving leaving IG, it sounds like. I don't know what his initial tweet meant. Maybe he's saying, like, oh, IG might not qualify for WPC, but... IG should, so the top 6 teams from the Eastern groups go through to the playoffs. But.
Well, we could call him up, get Roland to translate for us, and see what Chuan's really
Chuan
thinking.
speaks English.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
He's
good.
from Malaysia originally, so most Malaysians have a pretty good English.
Okay.
Roland speaks English.
Yeah, that was my favorite part about the Burning Ice 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 interview, is that Burning was the interviewer and the translator, so that made it. Or pardon me, Ice 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 was. Yeah,
Burning
I had it right in my head.
I was telling LD, like, man, you gotta just try convince Burning to do it in English. He speaks some limited English.
Enough that he could.
It's kind of like with the Korean players in StarCraft 2. Some of them speak hardly any English, but when they do, like, make that big effort to, like, just do, like, say a few words in English, everyone loves it. So I was hoping Burning would, but...
Yeah. Usually they're just afraid to say something wrong. Kind of like that tweet, something like that, where they mean to say, like, oh, we don't know if we'll make it to the finals. It comes off as, you're retiring, and then they don't want to get confused.
The end result was even funnier than I would say, then, if he had, like, tried to do something in English. Yeah. Ice translating. It was,
it was good.
It was fantastic, but...
It was good stuff.
I don't know. I think that's most of StarLadder. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was a good weekend. I wish I could have watched more of it, but still seemed to be a pretty good event. Viewership seemed pretty solid as well. That's something we didn't talk about. I think during the finals, I saw tweets of saying it tweaked like, and then across all the other streams,
there's a post on Reddit. Let me see.
Broke a good like 250, 300.
375,000 plus viewers for StarLadder season finals. Game 1. So that's with like Dota TV and everything as well, I guess.
And that's across all the languages and stuff.
Peak was a little higher for in-game viewing, so it was maybe even a bit higher than that, but it was around 375,000.
All right, so yeah, 350, between 350 and 400. That's solid. I mean, that's good. Big numbers. Yeah. So, all right. Well, boys, Bone 7, Bulba, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
We'll be seeing Bone 7 next weekend in DreamHack. That's probably the one thing we didn't talk about. DreamHack Bucharest coming up next weekend. So.
Oh yeah, that whole thing.
Cloud9, Na'Vi, Fnatic, and one more team.
Alliance.
That's a big
stacked tournament. That'll be fun.
What dates are those?
This weekend. It's Saturday, Sunday.
6 days. Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday. So, what are your guys' predictions going to that? Like, Na'Vi Alliance, is one of those two teams going to bounce back and take it, or are we going to look at...
Is all of Cloud9? Bone, all of you guys are playing, right?
Yeah. We're playing, dude.
We haven't seen all of Cloud9's roster play a LAN yet.
I feel like, looking at those 4 teams, I have no idea how to rank how teams are going to end. Like, I feel like any of those 4 teams can win it. Any of those 4 teams can finish last.
Yeah.
The 4 teams are like, who knows what's going to happen at Bucharest. It's actually like quite interesting for that reason.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you think, Bulba? Who's going to take it?
I don't know, man. They're all so evenly matched. I think, I don't know. No matter what LAN, I have to say, I'd say Cloud9 possibly first and Na'Vi second.
Okay. And Fnatic somehow have a tendency to beat Alliance a lot, so who knows how Alliance will do. But
what's the format? Is it a double elim?
Yeah, 4-team double elim.
Okay.
That's pretty straightforward stuff. I think there's some overlapping matches, so there'll be a couple streams going on.
Oh, goody.
But unless Cloud9 has a bad day, then they can...
Oh well.
Well, that's a pretty big caveat there.
Or a slump.
Or a slump.
A last-minute slump. No.
All right.
I don't know how you say that, Bowen. You guys got outplayed those days.
I mean, yes, sure. We actually caught you on your best days as well, though.
Whatever.
When are we going to see Liquid Cloud9 on LAN? When's that going to happen?
I don't know. You know, every time we scrim Cloud9, we win. It's
Whoa.
Like scrims. Look, scrims results do not matter.
I'm just trying to talk shit to Bowen.
Okay.
Because he was flaming me this entire weekend.
As EG proved when they scrimmed DK, that did not do anything for them when push came to shove in the real tournament.
They actually showed Tree to DK, supposedly.
DK have...
How questionable is that?
I think the way EG plays Tree is a lot different than the other teams that play
But
Tree.
they would have watched replays going into the LAN finals of EG. Because they would have known EG's probably one of the tougher opponents, so they would have seen some of the Treant play. I'd expect.
One would hope.
But,
all right. Well, boys, time for some shameless self-plugs. Bulba, Bone 7, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Liquid Bulba, and my sponsors are HyperX, Razer, Twitch, Barracuda, Nefersheet, and Shiny Things.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Mr. 7?
You can find me at like Bone7Dota and on Twitter, and yeah, thanks to my sponsors, Crunchyroll, HyperX, Alienware, Logitech. Logitech?
Yeah.
I missed something.
Logitech's definitely in there.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and
you've done well enough. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Oh, now you gave Bulba another thing to flame me for.
But Bosen, what did your parents say when you told them you wanted to become a Dota player instead of a vampire like other?
All right. Well, Okay, well, on that note, guys, thank you for joining us once again. That wraps up episode 6 of In the Studio, our Star Ladder special. Next weekend, we'll be back in full force. We'll have everyone in the studio, DreamHack Bucharest coverage, and there's plenty more Chinese Dota coming up throughout the next few days. That's it for today. We'll see you guys next weekend.